Late last night and early today, at my direction, the United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela. A heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolás Maduro to justice.
Wrapped in Venezuelan flags, as South Florida Street turned into a rally of hope.
I'm so thankful to God that He gave me the life to witness it. So we are witnessing history today.
Trump big strike on Maduro means one thing. Big money coming to the U.S. We're talking about lower gas prices, even though they're already low. Diesel prices, heating, transportation, jobs in the United States. This is not an endless war we get tied into for a decade. And the fact is that we got to live in the world that we have, not the world we wish we had. Brothers, sisters, how does this impact us? How does it affect our bottom line? How does it affect our families? That's what we need to know. We're going to get into that right now. But know this. Once upon a time, Joe Biden called Maduro Trump's buddy. Well, if this is how Trump treats his buddies, I sure as hell don't want to be one. I'm Tim Black. Welcome to the most dangerous show in America. It's Black Kings grinding every day. Queens grinding every day, trying to keep a roof over here, keep the bills paid, keep the kids looking decent. As we try to strive to more than just survive, but to thrive, we're faced with the pressing cost of living, up and up and up and up. And this may be one of those moves. You ain't got to approve of it. Hell, Trump didn't even ask Congress to approve of it. And guess what? He didn't need their approval to do it. My thing is the hypocrisy of the Democrats. If we do this, what's going to be retaliation? Nothing. There will be no retaliation in the form of military strikes. Venezuela has the biggest oil reserves in the world just sitting there. And we're talking about the type of the oil that is the thickest oil. So we got the light oil, we got the mid-range oil, then we got that crude heavy shit. And that's the type of stuff they got in Venezuela. The most prized oil on the planet is in Venezuela. Now, you ain't got to like Trump. A lot of people don't. I have grown to respect his gangster. That's something you never hear the Democrats say, so never call me a Democrat, because I respect his gangster move. This is a gangster move if there ever was one. And what I like about it, though, it doesn't need my approval. I'm not sanctioning it. But I think in order to call a thing, we got to look at the context of when it happened. And I'll say, at least he's saying, hey, we want the oil. He's not saying we're going in to restore democracy. Let Marco Rubio say that bullshit. In reality, we don't care about their democracy. We care about the oil that Venezuela's in the Western Hemisphere, and that Russia and China, for the same reasons, have been buddying up to Venezuela, and that's why we got to make our move ASAP. And the move has been made. It's done. It's sealed. So a little bit more on that hypocrisy before we get back to the benefits, right? I don't know if you guys remember, but there's a few countries, a couple names here. Libya, Syria, Yemen. These are all countries that America bombed without congressional approval. All these happened under Biden and Obama, or Biden. And you know what? I didn't hear that much pushback from the Democrats because it was under their guise. And when their people do it, it's okay. It's fine to get caught up. It's fine to be tied up. It's fine to send thousands of black men and women, young men and women who couldn't find jobs in America into the armed services. They didn't go there to go fight stupid wars for oil. They went there to take care of their families. And then they get caught up in Afghanistan or Iran or Iraq or whatever. This is all avoided. So, as I stated in the beginning, we got to live in the world that we have, not the world we wish we have. So there are a lot of things within what has happened in the last 48 hours that we got to look at it for what it is. If this was always going to happen, as if America was always going to make a move on Venezuela, this is the best outcome of any move that we would make. The sanctions weren't working. Meanwhile, we got people in Venezuela eating out of garbage cans, so they say. So the people in Venezuela right now who are partying in the street because Maduro wasn't duly elected, they didn't want this guy. 70% of the voters didn't choose him, but he still maintained power anyway by cooking the books in the election. So what are we really talking about here? It burns a little bit thinking about how the Democrats try to play like they're the saints when there is no saints in America. You can't run America, an imperialistic country like America. You cannot run this superpower pretending that you're a saint, because you're not. It's impossible. In fact, both parties are in the dirt just as much as the other party. It's just one party is more honest and blatant about it, particularly now that they had Donald Trump, who leans into his greed, who leans into this pursuit of power full force and lets it be known and wears it like a badge of honor. I'm going to get the oil. I'm doing this for American people. We will be strong. I mean, you ain't got to like it, but you got to respect it. So how did this get accomplished, you wonder? By knocking out those defense systems, creating diversions, sending in special forces, operations, go in, snatch Maduro in his own country with his wife as he runs to a safe room. Before he could get in the safe room, we grab him up, we stick him on a plane, we fly him back to New York. Boom. You know how long that took with Osama bin Laden? You know how long it took with Noriega? You know how long it took? We don't even want to talk about Gaddafi. Shame on Democrats talking shit when they had Gaddafi. We don't want to discuss how we put our hands all in Gaddafi, destroyed Libya, helped oust Gaddafi and feed him to the revolutionaries in his own country. And what they did to that man in the middle of the street while Hillary Clinton did a little dance. Barack Obama says it was the biggest failure of his presidency. Well, Trump just avoided all of that. Not only did he not cause humongous bloodshed and no bloodshed on our side, but he got Maduro without even killing him. It's not even, doesn't appear to have a hair missing on his head.
Good night. Happy New Year.
So, you have the biggest oil reserves in the world. You got the heavy crude oil, perfect for diesel, which means anything that gets moved across the country. That means pretty much everything. Everything runs in a truck, fam. Everything gets delivered by truck from whatever facility, whatever tanker. That's going to cut the cost of everyday goods across the board. We're talking about not just cheaper gas prices, cheaper groceries, cheaper heating and electric, cheaper everything. We're talking about stabilizing and not being at the whims of foreign countries and what happens with those countries and how gas prices fluctuate. Well, if we got our hands on the oil, if we control it, then there you go. Of course, the ultra progressives, the super far left will yell and complain, oh no, we're dictators, we're fascists, look at the imperialist United States. And yes, the game is ruthless and all countries play it. They'd rather we lose at the game than win the game. Well, I personally prefer winning the game if we have no choice but to be in the game. It's not like you and I get a vote or a say. But I'd rather this be the outcome than a long, drawn-out engagement that costs thousands of lives on either side. And that's not something that America has a problem doing, and we've seen that time and time again. So when you compare the two scenarios, what do you come up with? I come up with this being the best case scenario. But that's too basic. That makes too much sense. And from a Black American perspective, fam, we got to look at it for what it is. Also, there's a little cherry on the top, too. Do you realize 6 to 8 million Venezuelans were displaced during Maduro's term? They fled the country because the country's shit. So those Venezuelans can now, if the country gets stabilized, we can do something we haven't done in a long time, but we've talked about it. We can actually stabilize the country and help the people get back on their feet. Isn't that what you complain about with Latin America? How everyone has to come to America because we've destabilized the region? Well, what if we can stabilize Venezuela and we can open the door so people can go back?
If you are not from Venezuela, you better shut the fuck up. I've seen a lot of videos of gringos trying to explain Venezuela to Venezuelans. You don't even know the difference between Venezuela and Mexico. You can't even point a Venezuelan a you don't know what is to live in starvation. You never saw a family member dying because you didn't have the medication, while the members of the Chavismo are walking with Rolex in their hands. Do you want to know how many people died trying to come to America, going through a jungle? Do you want to know how many women were raped there? We are 8 millions of Venezuelans who have left Venezuela. You don't know what is to live like that. You are too freaking busy eating your Starbucks with almond milk, you I have a question for you guys. Where were you when they were killing us? Where were you when they were killing students? Students who didn't have any weapons. You were too freaking busy drinking your Starbucks with oat milk. So you better shut the f up and take Venezuela out of your filthy mouth.
Of course, there'll be people that disagree with that, but let them disagree with that, champ. Because at the end of the day, they don't live in Venezuela. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. Now, I also want to point out how this creates jobs, because if they are booming with the refineries running and we're able to pump this oil, bring this crude oil here, we got to bring it to our refineries and make it able to be used as gasoline, because it's not gas now, it's crude oil. So you got to convert that in the refineries here in the United States, which means that opens up jobs here. It also opens up jobs in construction. Black Americans, we need those jobs in construction. That'd be important for us to get those. See, that's the type of issue I'm focused on, while others are focused on kumbaya and skipping and holding hands and playing double dutch with the entire globe. I'm worried about black people being able to find jobs, sustainable jobs and career paths to grow black families. That's what I care about.
Welcome home, my love.
We don't get the world we want, we get the world we have. Now, how can we make that work within the confines of where we are right now? And I say, if all things being equal, this is the best case scenario that we could ask for or hope for, being as we don't get a vote, and being as America going to America. And this is just America doing what it do, but doing it better than it usually does it. And that's the thing that ticks me off, is that there will be no props, no respect, no context given to the situation at hand. Instead, it'll be goofies like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries crying about Congress did not get information prior to this development. They weren't informed. Fuck Congress. Congress, if you'd have told the Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries, they would have tipped off Maduro just to spite Trump. Damn the country. Damn us getting ahead. They'd rather us be tied up in wars, because we both know the neocons love a long war to sink their teeth in, to sink their greedy hands into in order to feed their friends. Gains upon gains from the ill-gotten gains of war, because that's how America functions. About time people start admitting instead of running from it. Dave Chappelle said it best: Donald Trump is the most honest liar he knows. He's a liar, but he's honest when he lies. And that's the point I'm getting to here. So we have people that are so wrapped on making Trump being the bad guy. They want so badly for America to fall, even though they're Americans. It doesn't make sense. This scenario, we don't got poor kids coming back in body bags, nor do we have kids coming back with PTSD. Hooked on drugs, trying to self-medicate from the shit they've seen over there, killing people needlessly in Venezuela. See, that's all avoided. Damn. Would have thought maybe we can avoid long, drawn-out wars. And I'd also like to mention Maduro and his wife are alive and well, which is something that usually doesn't happen. Not even a consideration when we go in, right? We came, we saw, he died. Yippee! Remember that, Hillary? So I'm thinking, in all things being equal, no, it'll never be given credit. It is what it is. And that's why I believe Donald Trump just sealed 2026. We avoided the bullets and the bombs and the drones and the casualties that we usually bring. And that's a win. Because instead of spending a bunch of money tied up in an endless war, we get it over with, we grab the guy, and now we can get to the good part. The good part of bringing that damn crude oil this way. And also helping Venezuela at the same time. Though we know that's not the primary focus, I'm not going to bullshit you and pretend it was. But Black America, what do you want? You want to win or you want to lose? Would you rather? You rather it not work out? You rather we be in war for the next 5 years? Or you rather we do nothing and we watch China and Russia get their grind on with Venezuela? There was no George Bush weapons of mass destruction nonsense lie being spread in order to protect the actual endeavor, which was to go get the oil. Million Iraqis dead, and all he wanted to do was get some damn oil for his SUV. Think about that. Oh, and also feed his friends. All his donors and all his friends who were working with those government and non-government organizations that benefited from the war, who had contracts to help rebuild what we destroyed. That's the other part people don't talk about a lot. So after you blow up a country and destroy everything, then you put together $1 trillion to say, okay, now we got to rebuild it since we destroyed it. And then we hire contractors who are our friends to go in and get contracts to rebuild the country. So it's just another way to open the piggy bank of the United States budget. And all that was avoided here. I'm not saying Trump is a saint, he far from a saint, but it could be worse. When you're a Black American, all you can say is it could be worse, because it could be worse. It has been worse. And you ain't even got to look that far around, Johnson, to remember when it was worse. It was worse in Iraq. It was worse in Yemen, worse in Syria, worse in Libya. Worse, worse, worse. Trump's from do a move, oil grab. Oil grab all the way around the board, not playing around, not making this about us saving the whales. We don't care about the whale. We skint the whale. We're going to cook its meat and we're going to use the rest for soap. But what does it mean for us? Well, it means an opportunity to lower gas prices and make the cost of living cheaper for the average American, which is us, to put Black Americans to work and also leave the way for less border, less people crossing over into the country, and maybe some returns from Venezuela back to, that have come here to the United States back to Venezuela. And also that Trinidad Aragua gang shit we talked about not too long ago that was going on here. Maybe we can get that to cease. So what do we do, Black men? Black women, what do we do? In the barbershops and the hair salons, we should be having a conversation about what we're trying to get out of this. That's what our politicians should be talking about. Instead of using this as an opportunity to boo and hoo about something they can't control, which has already happened, you're not going to put the genie back in the bottle. The toothpaste is out of the tube. They should be talking about how Black communities can benefit from this latest development, but they'd rather spend their time crying about something they can't fix, crying about something that's already been done. So we should lead the way in discussing the benefits of this and demanding that our politicians give us our slice of the pie. So this situation has made it clear to me we only got a couple of choices here. We can either put a bag over our heads or grab a bag and breathe in it, hyperventilate, or we could go grab a bag. My name's Tim Black, and this is the most dangerous show in America. I see you tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Subscribe for more content like this to your mailbox. Don't forget to hit the bell, Johnson. Wolfpack.
Catch Tim Black live on the most dangerous show in America, Sundays, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Times. Don't miss out on the real. Stay dangerous.